In this lesson, we'll learn how to reply to an existing email. We already know how to list all of the emails in our inbox. Now let's make sure we can reply to one of them. We're going to resort to the tasks folder here. Regarding replying the email, we are going to ask for input from the user using our Thor application. The test that we'll perform is going to be in real time. We're going to actually execute the app. We're going to directly put in the input necessary, such as what is the subject, as well as the body. At the end of the task, we are going to connect to the SMTP server using the send email service. We already know how to do that. All we need to do is invoke it again. So let's go to the tasks folder and create a reply.rb file. The reply feature will be invoked from the application itself. We can already describe the reply method here. We're going to say reply to an email. Then we define the actual reply method. This is going to invoke the task, so reply task.new, and we're going to call the execute method on it. And that's it, at least for now. All we need to do is make sure that this task is executed. Let's go to the courier file here and require this new task file. So courier tasks reply. Oh, by the way, this reply task should be under the courier module. And then we're going to create that reply task. If you want to, you can define a tasks module and just call the class reply. This is just for the sake of the example. You can do it in either way you want. We are going to have an execute method. The execute method will list all of the emails in every single folder. After all, if there's some sort of folder in which there's an email you wish to reply to, you'll need to list that folder as well. So let's create a list folders service into a variable. So list folders.new. In order to retrieve the list of folders, we'll need to resort to the execute method in the service. This is all part of the process of listing folders. So we should probably define a private method called list folders. Then we are going to transfer this piece of code into there, and I'm going to rename this to service, at least just for now. In this case, we want to list the entire list of emails. We already know how to do that in the app.rb class with the folder renderer. So I'm just going to copy this exact piece of code in here. Let's also make sure that the method is called, remove the extra file, and there you go. This is just the first part of being able to reply to one email. We need to identify the actual email instance. Now there's another thing that we need to do, and that is to trace the email we want to reply to. So I'm going to call a new method called select email. This select email method will be stored at the bottom, and all it's going to do is store a message ID for that email. So I'm going to call message ID equals ask. The ask method will allow us to pass in a message. So I'll type something like paste the message ID of the email you want to reply to. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to ask the user to copy the value of the message ID and paste it in the input. That way we'll get access to that message ID. Now this is the second step. Let's move on to the third one. We are going to ask the user to confirm the data that he should paste in, such as the subject and stuff like that. So I'll type in a confirm data method that will define just right down below. So confirm data it is. Before we jump into the specification of this confirm data method, we need to make sure we find the actual email for this message ID. So I'm going to paste a snippet of code that does exactly that. I'm going to explain you how it is performed. We are going to retrieve one single email. We're going to map through the entire list of folders that we're going to retrieve in the list folders method. We want the emails for each different folder, and that's why we are applying the map method. We are going to flat the entire list, and we're going to find the respective email. The one with the correct message ID gets assigned to this variable. As for the folders instance variable, we're going to assign it in the list folders method. So service.folders. And that's it. This is the email that we're going to select, and now we're going to ask the user for the correct data. The subject instance variable will contain the value of the input provided by the user. It defaults to the previous subject with a text before it. This is the convention as you see in regular email clients. So we're going to do the same. We are also going to ask the user for a text file. In the location that we invoke the command, we will need to have this file. After that, we're going to press enter so it can be read and inserted into the email, which comes in the next step. As you can see on top, I'm going to add in a new method called sendEmail. The sendEmail will create the new hash to be inserted in our fresh sendEmail service. So let's do that. Let me go down here. Let's focus this on the center and create that sendEmail method. We are going to have an email data hash, which will be something in these terms. It will have a to symbol, which will match the previous emails from attribute, so email.from. The subject is going to be the contents of subject, and the body will be the result of reading the contents of that draft.txt folder. So file.read and then draft.txt. And that's it. This is the amount of data that we'll need to specify to the sendEmail service. Let's define it really quick and call sendEmail.new, and we'll pass that hash of data. We'll call the service.execute method, and that's it. Let me just print out a message saying successfully replied to email. And that's it. That's all we need to do. The information on who it is sending is already in the sendEmail service. Let's take a look at it. We get the information on the SMTP server, the user, which is the address we're going to refer to, in the from field, as you can see in line 30. The timestamp is correct, and we're also going to set the appropriate message ID. That's great. All we need to do is already done. So let's try this out. Most likely we will come up with an error, but that's okay. Let's just make sure that we run bundle exec courier reply. Let's run it and see what happens. As you can see, it is taking a little long to fetch the entire list of messages. We want to reply to the one that's in the inbox. But as you can see, we have no message ID parameter. So for that purpose, I'm going to leave the execution. As you can see, we get an interrupt signal. And I'm going to go to the renderer. In the folder renderer, I want to make sure that I also pass in the message ID. I'm going to put it at the end of the table. So there we go. Let's do it again, but this time I'm just going to clear the screen first and make sure that we get that field. Okay, the message ID field, as you can see, is empty. But that's because most likely we have an error in the actual content. The emails hash is the hash that contains all of the content. So if we go to the folder class, let's open it up, you can see that we have no message ID here. Let's pass it up. There you go. This should be good enough. Let's just open the email class to make sure that the property exists. And it does. But most likely, when listing the folders, we should be able to pass in the message ID. If we don't, then we should do so. So let me just pass in message ID equals options with that respective field. When listing all of the folders and respective emails, we should make sure that the message ID is passed in. So for the purpose, I'll go to the list folder service and make sure that when we instantiate a new email, then we assign the correct variable. The fetch email service is the one that we should be focusing on, so let's go ahead. Which of the fields is the one that we should use in order to retrieve the actual message ID? Well, the answer is in the envelope. The envelope contains the information on the message ID as well. So what I'll do is I'm going to pass in message ID and go to item and retrieve the actual envelope. So let's do that. And go to the actual message ID property. This is part of the structure that is the item's envelope. The message ID is available in the envelope, so we can use it like you see here. Let's try and run the same courier command. Let's hope that the message ID is provided and showing in our table. And as you can see, it is. Let me just reduce the size so you can see the full table without any compromise. You can see the various different message IDs. I'm going to reply to this message here. I'm going to select that content and I'm going to paste it right over there. Let me just close it up as part of the identifier and I'll press enter. And as you can see, we get the default value of reply first email ever. This is the exact subject as you can see on top. I'm going to default to that. Now it's asking us to write the email's body into that file. So let's do that. I'm going to open a new buffer in Tmux and I'm going to go to the folder of the project because that's where we are. So I'm going to edit a draft.txt file. So I'm just going to say this is a reply and I just added my name and that's okay. That's all I need to do. Let's close this file and close the buffer. We don't need to use it anymore. And I'm just going to press enter as I'm told. Well, what do you know? We need to make sure that this error is tackled. We don't have any send email service here. Oh, okay. All we need to do here is go to the actual courier file here. Let me open it in a new tab. And I'm going to add in that new service. So send email. Let's save and run this again. And hopefully this will all go smoothly. We will get the list of all of our emails. There you go. And I'm going to go and copy the exact message ID. There's our subject. I'm going to press enter. We already have the draft.txt file, so I'll press enter again. And this time we don't get the SMTP constant. Let's load that as well. I'm going to go to the top and paste it right there, change IMAP to SMTP, and this time we should be good to go. We are not relying on unit test for this, but that's okay. The entire nature of replying to an email is interactive. So let's do this interactively. So let's paste in the message ID again. Let's pass in the default subject, press enter to read the email's body, and there you go. We now have a successful reply. What this means is if we run the list command, we should have a copy of that email in our email account. If I run the list command, we should have one more email message in the sent folder. There you go. Reply first email ever. This is our own account, and this is the address that sent us an email in the first place. Congratulations on fulfilling one more task. We are now able to reply to an actual email. Let's jump into the next lesson and learn how we can extract some sensitive data into a configuration file. See you soon.